On today's show, we'll talk about United and JetBlue tying the knot a little bit tighter. We'll talk about how Wyndham's crappy coupon book doesn't add up. And we'll discuss how to bridge the gap to the next level of Hyatt status.
Frequent Miler on the Air starts now. Today's main event, Hyatt, end-of-year elite planning. As it's getting towards the end of the year, we're starting to look at our elite progress so far. How many nights have we earned at Hyatt, and are we going to reach the elite goals we have with them? Hyatt, we've long described as our favorite loyalty program, and so we're going to talk about what you can do as it gets near the end of the year to reach your goals as well.
Yeah, and I think that this is a program that matters a lot to us and probably to many readers. So we'll discuss which things might be worth going for, because even if you're not going to make it all the way to the top tier, there are still some things you might want to consider in terms of getting yourself towards A level with Hyatt. We'll talk more about that. But remember, if you want to jump ahead to it or you want to come back to something later on, you can always find the timestamps in the show notes. Just expand the description box. And wherever you're watching or listening to this, please give it a like, a thumbs up, a star, leave us a review, leave your comments and your thoughts. We love to hear from you. So thank you for that. Let's drag out this week's giant mailbag.
All right, pulling out the giant mailbag. Today's giant mail comes from Annette and Leo. They write, we just wanted to say how much we enjoyed the 100K Vacay challenge. We've had so much fun following you guys. We're definitely FM groupies and have done the coolest things because of you guys. In February, we are headed to Japan in lay flats. She means lay flat business class. Thank you for telling me not to burn those Cathay Pacific miles on hotels. So, and she goes on to say, we use Cathay to book Japan Airlines, and that was great advice. So on a previous episode, we read her question about using, she was thinking of using Cathay miles to book hotels, and we said, don't do it. And I'm really glad that worked out well. They go on to say, we have amazing hotels lined up and are super excited. We tell people about you all the time. Anyway, your vacays have given us great ideas. Thank you. P.S. We loved Shay and thought she was great. We also noticed Nick said "we" a lot and wondered if he was referring to the mouse in his pocket.
Well, I guess I have to start there. Go ahead. What were you going to?
No, I was just, what's the deal, Nick? Why do you refer to yourself as "we"?
I didn't even notice that happening, but this is not the only time I got that piece of feedback. So clearly I did refer to "we" more often than I realized. I have no idea. Maybe I meant we landed like our flight landed, like the people, we being everybody on the plane landed.
You're with a plane full of people.
A plane full of, yeah, or like I did the Caminito del Rey, and that was like a tour group. So when I said we there, I was referring to the, 20 people in the tour group or whatever it was. So yeah, I guess I literally didn't notice having used we once, but like I said, not the only person, Annette, to call me out for that. So there was nobody else with me traveling with me. So,
you know what? I think people were especially attuned to it because, I started first with my trip where I kept introducing additional people that I brought along. And then Stephen brought along Shay on his. And so I think that when you referred to people jumped to the conclusion that you had like a secret additional person that you hadn't revealed yet, and so that's just my guess of that. It's not that, it's probably something that we all do now and then, say we, in situations like you just described, because it makes sense, but it's probably not that often that the audience is reading into that.
Right. That's probably exactly what it was. I didn't even think about it that way, but that's absolutely a good explanation. Anyway, backing up to the more important stuff, Annette, I am really glad that you used your Cathay Pacific miles to fly or to book flatbed business class to Japan. That's terrific. That's great. And I'm glad to hear that you're using what we talk about on the show to get awesome vacations out of. So that's great. Congratulations to you, and well done on listening and taking the advice and then applying it, because that second part is as important as the first part, right? Not only just listening, but then also applying it, and you've done that. So well done.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about card news. This week's card news, we have several items up. First up, the Hawaiian cards have gotten a little bit better, or their benefits have gotten a little bit better, I guess we should say. So the Hawaiian cards, business and consumer cards, come with some different discounts. So there's a $100 annual companion discount that I think comes on, I can't remember which one now, whether it's business or personal, and a 50% companion discount on the other one, whichever that is. And that's now redeemable on Alaska flights. In the past, you could only redeem that on Hawaiian flights and only on flights between the mainland of the US and Hawaii. Now you can use it on all of the Alaska flights, which should make them much more highly applicable to a much wider audience.
Yeah, totally. We learned this from Travel with Grant, which is another blog on boarding area. And he also did a follow-up post where he actually compared prices like with these different companion vouchers, including comparing it to using the Alaska credit cards the $99 companion voucher. And, not surprisingly, the Alaska cards $99 one resulted in better pricing. Except he pointed out that if you have very cheap flights, like Alaska flights, the $100 companion discount could be better, or even the 50% one could be better because you're not paying that $99 fixed piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I was actually looking at some flights myself that where the 50% would work out to be a better deal than the Alaska $99 companion voucher, specifically because of the fact that they were relatively cheap flights. So initially, when I looked at it with the $99 companion voucher, I said, well, this isn't really going to save me much of anything at all. So I wasn't even considering using the $99 companion voucher. Then when the 50% off came, I said, well, actually, no, that might make enough of a difference to consider flying Alaska. So that's really good to know. Thank you to Grant for highlighting that.
And a reader pointed out another perk I'd never even heard of. Apparently, the Hawaiian Airlines card gives Hawaiian Airlines like high-level elite members up to $10 per flight credit against in-flight purchases, up to a maximum of, I think it was $100 per year. And that's apparently changed to be you can have any level of Alaska status and get that same perk. And so that's pretty cool, but I'm having trouble finding any kind of landing page for Hawaiian that shows that. I did find a terms and conditions that listed that, but I can't find like sort of the higher level, like here's what you get benefit wise mentioning this at all. So I guess I've been looking in the wrong places, or they don't do a good job of listing out all the perks of these cards.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one myself, but I should earn Alaska silver status this year, so maybe I'll find out sometime next year and put it into practice. All right, that's not the only card news out this week, though. Perhaps even bigger news, not necessarily better, but bigger. Citi launched a new $350 American Airlines Globe credit card, so a new kind of mid-tier American Airlines credit card, and we talked about it on this week's coffee break.
Yeah. So if you want to hear all about it, check out our coffee break titled AA's Disappointing $350 Globe Cards. You get a hint right from the title what we thought about it. But what you probably don't want to do is you don't want to sleep on the fact that there's a 90,000 mile welcome bonus for this card. So if you can't, for example, qualify for the 80,000 point offer that I think is available now on the cheaper card, you might want to consider the 90,000 point offer instead.
And when Greg says if you can't qualify for the 80,000 point offer, I think what he means in between the lines there is because you've had the 80,000 point offer within the last couple of years, because you have to space those out. Citi only allows you to get the welcome offer once every, 48 months now on an American Airlines card. So this is a different card. So this gives you an opportunity for another 90,000 miles.
Right. You could start another 48-month clock with this one and then bounce back and forth over time.
There you go. All right. But United wanted to get into this week's news for card news anyway, and they didn't want to actually add any benefits to the credit card. Instead, rather, they're launching a debit card. So a United debit card is coming, which will join the SouthWest debit card and the Wyndham debit card. Spirit Airlines was also supposed to be launching a debit card this fall. I haven't heard any more news about that, but who knows whether that's still going to happen. But at any rate, we see a few of these rewards debit cards coming now. And so the I think this was brought up by somebody called SoFi Insider on Miles Talk. Is that right?
On X, and
Oh, on X.
Miles Talk is where we learned about it.
Ah,
Yeah, so it's a screenshot of what's coming. So they leaked some information, and at a high level, it's not very exciting. It's very similar to what we've seen with the other debit cards. You get 1 mile per $2. There's a 2,500 bonus each year as long as you spend at least $10,000 on the card. One thing that really interests me, and there's no information about this though to really evaluate this part, is there was a bullet point that says earn up to 70,000 miles each year on your account balance. So that suggests that maybe it's working sort of like a savings account where you're earning interest, but instead of earning interest, you're earning miles. At least that's what I'm thinking is happening there.
hmm.
But not exactly clear. That would be nice because all these cards have a minimum balance that you have to keep in order to waive the monthly fee. In this case, the monthly fee is $4 a month. And so it would be nice if that balance earned some kind of interest, whether it's miles or actual cash. In this case, it would be miles.
Yeah, and you might ask, why do we care about a debit card? Well, I mean, there are some types of purchases where you may actually have to use a debit card, number one. Number two, if you were doing something like paying taxes and you didn't want to pay the fee for a credit card, I assume you'd be able to probably use this as a debit card. And I think the fee on debit cards is only $2.50, if I remember correctly. So you're talking about earning 5,000 miles for every $10,000 in taxes that you're paying on a $2.50 fee. And if you just did the 10K, you'd earn 7,500 total miles with the 2,500 bonus miles with the 10K annual spend. So, I mean, that might be worth it for $2.50 for some folks. So it's worth keeping that in mind. One thing I don't know, did we talk about how these entities are now offering? Because I thought this was fascinating. You had pointed out an article a
Mhm.
while back from View from the Wing explaining how we're all of a sudden seeing these rewards debit cards. I mean, it's been years here that we haven't seen any substantial
Yeah.
rewards debit cards. And so why not? And
Yeah.
how is this happening?
What it basically is that back when a law was enacted that limited the earnings banks could get from debit card transactions, the law did not apply to smaller banks. And so what's happening is these these airlines and hotel chains are going to smaller banks. In this case, it's Sunrise Bank. Because now the debit card can earn transaction fees, and so they can, so they earn from every transaction, and so therefore they can provide rewards for every transaction as well.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. It's interesting that
Yeah.
that's the way that they found around it.
Right. One thing to note before you think about spending $1 million on your taxes with a debit card is usually these debit cards have limits to how big of a transaction you can make at once. And so, wouldn't
That's a
surprise
great
me
point.
if you couldn't do more than 5 or 10,000 at a time. So just something to keep in mind. We don't have all the details yet.
If even that much, that's a great point. Yeah, I know some of my debit cards have even lower amounts than that, depending on the bank. Smaller, like my small local bank, is something I don't know, like $1,000 a day or something really small on their debit card. And so, since this is a smaller bank, it wouldn't shock me if they do have a lower maximum. That's a really good point. Okay. And then finally, under card news, American Express Business Gold Card the American Express Business Gold Card, rather, has now added a $150 Squarespace credit. And so now that's a new benefit on the card. If you spend money with Squarespace, you can get $150 back. So does this mean if I go to like a little restaurant that uses a Square reader that I'm going to get my money back if I spend $150 on dinner, Craig?
No, that would be really nice, but no. Squarespace is not the Square Reader. It is it's a service that helps businesses set up websites basically for selling stuff. So you can sell stuff through the website that they set up for you automatically. And so yeah, if you're using it already, or if you're interested in having a website to sell your stuff. then and you have one of these, you have an Amex Gold card, then it might all work out for you. I don't know.
Business gold to be clear.
Business gold. Oh, thank you. Yes, very important. Regular gold will not cut it. Yeah, I checked this morning whether there were any like good portal rates, and I couldn't find any portal rates at all. Because sometimes these business services have incredible portal deals,
Yeah.
but something to watch out for. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because in some cases it can actually, if the portal rate is good enough, it can pay to like set up a website, using whatever the smallest plan that the company has, and then get your $150 back plus get whatever the portal offers. But as I said, in this case, I'm not seeing anything.
All right, but something to keep our eyes on. Very good. All right, well, that was very good, but what is very bad is our Bonvoyed section, or at least kind of not very bad. But we'll talk about being Bonvoyed. In other words, we'll talk about the ways things went wrong this week, or kind of the way Wyndham went weird, I guess is really more so an accurate way of saying it. Wyndham has launched Wyndham Rewards Insider, a coupon book you can buy for $95.
Exactly. And it's not just any coupon book. It's a really crappy coupon book. So if you want to spend $95 per year on a really crappy coupon book, then you'll get benefits like a minimum 10% discount off the standard rate, which, as Steven showed, will result in 0% savings almost all the time. Uh, You can get a 50% bonus on paid stays, but not really at all. We'll talk about that more in our crazy thing segment. You will get Wyndham Gold status, so that's something. I'm not going to list everything. Basically, if you thought what I read so far is crappy, the rest is crappy too. So there you go.
It doesn't get better than that. Yeah.
No.
And the thing is, a lot of these things are things that like savings at theme parks. I mean, AAA promises that. If you're a T-Mobile customer, T-Mobile, like their app promises, like everybody promises that. And you don't necessarily, well, I mean, you do pay for those memberships, but there are probably some benefits that you care about with those. And there probably aren't any benefits that you care about with this one. So yeah, $95. I mean, for a limited time, you can get 7,500 bonus points and 2 additional months for free. That's like paying more than a penny per point, though, and they sell their points for less than a penny a point frequently enough. So
Right.
even for the bonus, it's not worth buying this. It's
No.
kind of crazy.
No.
Kind of crazy, but not the only bit of crazy here. So let's talk about what crazy thing did Wyndham do this week?
Yeah, I mean, this is still tying right into that same crappy coupon book. So Wyndham, we've made fun of Wyndham in the past about their bad math. Now, normally that's in the form of where they have a portal promotion where they advertise something like 5 times the rewards, and when we look at the actual rewards rates, we can't find any that where
Nothing.
where it's 5 times what you would get without the promo. So
And whatever it says often doesn't match what you actually get. Like whatever, when you shop
true,
through the
too.
portal, it's not always bad. Sometimes it works out in your favor, but it's like never exactly the rewards amount that they say. And when I say not exactly, I mean, like if it says 7, it's not like you're getting 7.1. You're getting like 7.962 or like 8.5. And it's like, wait, but it said 7. It doesn't ever make any sense. So yeah, Wyndham is terrible at math.
Yeah, yeah. So now we get to this Wyndham Rewards Insider subscription crappy coupon book where it advertises that you will earn 50% more accelerated earning points on all qualifying stays. And so since Wyndham normally gives you 10 points per dollar, we assumed that meant you'd earn 5 bonus points per dollar in addition to whatever elite earnings you get, right?
I mean, surely for $95 a year, you would think that that would seem reasonable, right?
It would be reasonable. Reader pointed out that's not the right reading of this at all. If you dig into the terms and conditions, you see what it really means is it's a 50% bonus on top of the bonus you get from your elite status. So, so Stephen like broke this down. If you have gold status, which is what you get with the crappy coupon book, then that means you will earn an additional half point per dollar. So
Half a Wyndham point per dollar. Woo!
yeah, yeah. and you have to have diamond status for it to add up to a full additional 1 point per dollar.
Wow.
So it's so little. The incremental earn there is so little that it's just not even worth considering as like, it's not going to make any difference to your total earnings for the year unless you unless you spend so much at Wyndham properties that well, I don't know why are you spending that much on Wyndham properties, but
Well, but I think it's worth pointing out how much is so much. So Stephen did the math and figured out that for a gold member who gets this extra half a point per dollar spent, you would have to spend $27,144 over the course of a year to earn the points necessary to essentially earn $95 worth of Wyndham points to justify paying the fee. So if you're spending more than
yeah.
$27,144 a year at Wyndham, maybe this coupon book is worth it for you.
As long as none of those stays are less than $100, because Stephen
Hmm.
also points out that Wyndham tops up low earning stays to 1,000 points, so you're not going to benefit at all for the cheaper those really cheap stays from this
You're
perk.
also not going to get to $27,000 too quickly at stays that are less than $100 a night. So you'd
Gonna
be in
be
trouble anyway, even if they.
gonna be pretty darn tough. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So Wyndham is bad at math, and don't fall for it. The $95 rewards insider thing is not a thing to consider. So there you have it. Frequent milers, definite verdict on that one. Let's talk about awards points and more. Awards points and more. We've got some good or interesting news out this week from United and JetBlue because they have officially launched finally their Blue Sky venture where you have reciprocal earn and burn between the two airlines. So you can redeem your JetBlue points to fly on United or redeem your United miles to fly on JetBlue or also earn between across airlines. So you could pay for a United flight and earn JetBlue tiles if you want, or pay for a JetBlue flight and earn United miles. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. We spent a little time looking at this. This just came out this morning as we're recording, so we haven't had a lot of time to look through it. We're not seeing amazing value from this. Like we're hoping. Often when JetBlue gets a new partner, they temporarily have ridiculously cheap award prices for flying that partner. We're not seeing that.
Oh,
So
no.
that's too bad. United's, prices for flying JetBlue aren't that exciting either. At least, again, as we've seen so far. What I'm excited about, though, is the ability to book a single award that would include, for example, book a single United award that would include JetBlue, maybe taking me to JFK and then a Star Alliance flight onward. That could all be booked now with United miles, whereas today I can't get to JFK with United miles from like Detroit, for example, because United flies everyone to Newark, and so so that's gonna be really nice. And then conversely, you'll be able to use your JetBlue miles to book, for example, United to get you from wherever you live to, let's say, Boston, and then JetBlue onward to Europe, for example. So that'll be good because not only can it save points to have everything in one reservation, but almost more importantly, by having it all in one booking, you should be able to ideally check your bags all the way through if you want to. You should be at least somewhat protected if things go wrong. One flight is delayed, and then you have the onward flight to catch. So all of that is good news, if not spectacularly exciting.
Except for people who live in New York, who've been used to having much better access to JFK Star Alliance availability because people like Greg and everybody else can't use their United miles to get to JFK because United doesn't fly to JFK. So that has probably, I think, at least in my experience, resulted in quite a bit of Star Alliance award availability to and from Europe, especially I think because it's such a pain for people elsewhere to get to JFK and connect to that, and I fear that that's going to disappear quickly now that you can easily get yourself to JFK on JetBlue from so many cities. So maybe a bummer for those of us based close enough to JFK for that to be like sort of like a home airport or a home airport. I think that could end up being bad for us, but good for most people listening, I imagine. So,
Yeah.
congratulations there.
Yeah. So some things are not here yet, but are coming. So they said that first quarter 2026 we'll have revenue booking. So that means you'll be able to pay for your United flights through the JetBlue's website. In early 2026, I guess since they're not saying first quarter, it probably means by the end of second quarter, or they don't actually know. Anyway, early 2026, we'll have reciprocal perks and benefits, priority boarding, preferred and extra legroom, that kind of thing. And also in early 2026, this is kind of a weird one. I was really surprised to read this, that United's travel extras, mileage plus travel, will transition to Paisley, which is JetBlue's wholly owned website for like booking like vacation packages and stuff like that. So what do you make of that, Nick? I mean, isn't that kind of just a surprising, like, wow.
Yeah, I would guess that this must have heavily played into the calculus for the partnership because, and I say that because we've talked several times recently about how everybody wants you to use their portal for booking hotels and vacation packages, right? Because clearly there's a good amount of commission to be made selling hotel rooms. AA Hotels wants to sell you hotels. Citi wants to bonus booking through Citi Travel. Every other credit card wants to bonus booking through their portal so that you have a reason to book through them. So I'm surprised that United would give up their own form of that, unless they were doing that because they had the opportunity to make more money with JetBlue. And so JetBlue must have offered them a pretty sweet deal here in terms of managing it, I would think anyway. This makes me more inclined to think that we may see a merger down the road
That's
between
what
the
I was
two.
going to say. I don't see getting that tightly in bed with
No.
a partner unless you're pretty confident that a merger, i.e., United's buying JetBlue, unless you think that's coming. So I think
Yeah,
this definitely adds support to that.
sure
Yeah.
does. It
So
sure
very,
does.
very interesting. Also, what I found interesting is one of the benefits supposedly of this partnership was that JetBlue is going to give United a number of their slots at JFK. So United will be able to fly to and from JFK, which they can't do today. But the press release with all this says that that's going to happen as early as 2027. So as early as means it might not even happen in 2027.
Right, right. Which sounds a lot to me like you're planning some buffer time for the merger to get approved, right?
Yeah, at which point I'm not even sure that it's going to make any difference. But anyway, so that's kind of interesting to me too. That don't hold your breath if you've been waiting for United to fly right into JFK itself.
Well, that's true. That's true. But I mean, like you said, it does seem to indicate that they intend to be in a pretty close partnership for a long time, which could very well be United buying JetBlue. So this is, I think, hopefully good news for those of us that have been doing the JetBlue 25 for 25 thing. They're going to have Mosaic 1 status, provided that United continues to honor that. At least in the short term, having JetBlue United or JetBlue status will give you benefits on United, and of course the opposite is true too. If you have United status, you'll get benefits on JetBlue. That's not coming, like Greg said, until early 2026. But I wanted to also point out the fact that JetBlue still offers status matches to Mosaic. You can still match to Mosaic. Over the summer, they ran a promotion where you could match to the top tier of Mosaic. That was temporary, and that's over. So they only match to Mosaic 1 and Mosaic 2, but they do match most domestic airlines elite statuses. So, I mean, even Spirit Gold or Frontier, or certainly, if you've got status with one of the other major U.S. airlines, you can match that over to Mosaic, and you only need to earn 10 tiles to keep Mosaic 1, which requires $1,000 worth of JetBlue spend or 10K on their credit card, which has an elevated offer right now anyway, as we record this. Or then you can bump that up. If you match to Mosaic 2, you've got to earn, I think, 20 tiles. And then you could even bump up all the way to Mosaic 3 by earning 30 tiles, I think it is, within those 3 months, which is a good deal compared to actually earning Mosaic 3, which would require 150 tiles ordinarily. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty interesting opportunity. Along with that, my wife actually matched to JetBlue Mosaic through the current match to Mosaic using her American Airlines status. And her American Airlines status was courtesy of a fast track from Hyatt because Hyatt offered members the fast track with AA a while back, or they have been, I think, on an ongoing basis. So you should check in your Hyatt app. I just noticed I had this in my Hyatt app also to fast track to AA status. So she instantly got AA Gold status. And then she did do some spending on her credit card to keep it for an additional 3 months, but her status was technically temporary with AA. And I just screenshotted her current activity, which didn't show the expiration date on her AA Gold status, but did show everything that JetBlue asked for, which was current status, first and last name, and progress towards status this year, which included the spend she'd done on her credit card so far. And I wasn't sure whether they would approve that since she's not even quite halfway to requalifying for gold, but sure enough, they did. So there you have it. If you've got Hyatt status and you can do the AA fast track, you might be able to match that to JetBlue, and that might be worth it because if you can easily earn those 10 tiles and keep Mosaic through the end of next year, it sounds like those benefits will apply on United sometime in early 2026.
Yeah, that's you know what that's really good news for me in a very roundabout way. So we'll talk more about this on a future episode, but I'm not planning on staying my way with Marriott to 75 night status anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that 75 night status has given me is United Silver
Ah,
status. But I don't fly United economy often enough that it makes that big of a difference, but it's nice when I do. And so if I could status match my way to JetBlue status and or spend 10K on the credit card a year, to get some basic perks with United. Hey, that's a win. So
well,
something to consider.
it would be 10K now on the card to keep status for a year, but ordinarily Mosaic 1 requires 50 tiles. So it'd be 50,000 spend
Oh,
ongoing.
right.
But for the match purposes, you need to earn 10 tiles in 3 months. All right. So one other thing about that match, though, it's kind of interesting, and it probably won't work out as good as this is going to sound, but this is my wishful thinking, perhaps. So the way the match to Mosaic program works is they give you the temporary status for 3 months. And by the way, some people might wonder why I cared about that since I'm doing JetBlue 25 for 25. And the answer is I had temporary Mosaic 1 status from the Duncan flight, and that ran out. And we have a few more JetBlue flights to do. So I wanted us to have status for those last 5 JetBlue destinations. So that's why my wife matched, if you were wondering about that. But the terms of the match give you temporary status for 3 months. And then if you earn the 10 tiles, then you keep Mosaic 1. If you match to Mosaic 1, that is. You earn the 10 tiles, you keep Mosaic 1 for the rest of the calendar year and all of the following year. And so that should probably mean that if you match now, that you would keep status through the end of next year. But what I've wondered is if you don't meet the spend until January, which is still within 3 months if you're matching now, then would your status actually end up lasting through the end of the following calendar year, through the end of 2027? Probably not, but it makes me curious.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it might. Some status matches work that way. If you're allowed to, sometimes they're careful about like cutting them off. Like I know Marriott used to started doing that. Like people would time those,
Yeah.
matching, doing the status challenge so that the status would last 2 full years, and then they started like only offering the
Yeah.
status challenge during certain times a year, so you can do that. So I don't know in this case, but that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know whether they're going to pull the JetBlue status match at some point or not. If it continued into January, I don't know when United's elite year ends, but I think most of them probably aren't until the end of January. So if you did this match in January, Then, if it still says for the rest of the current year and all of the next year, your 3 month window starts in January, I would assume you would end up with JetBlue status through the end of 2027. But I don't know whether it'll still be around
Yeah.
in January, whether you want to take that chance. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Um,
moving forward. JetBlue, speaking of Mosaic, has announced a number of Mosaic changes, which might make you more or less interested in earning JetBlue Mosaic status. So there's a few things that are pretty interesting here. First of all, they've extended the elite year. I was just talking about when the elite year ends. And with JetBlue, historically, you would earn status between January and December and then have it for the following calendar year from January, well, for the rest of the year in which you earn it and all of the following calendar year through December 31st. Then your status would drop again, potentially on January 1st of the following year. They've extended that now. So your elite status ends at the end of January instead of at the end of the calendar year. And the reason for that is if you earn like the last tile you need for elite status on December 31st, historically, your status would drop in January until that transaction gets processed and added to your account, and then it would go back up. So they'd have people that were requalifying that had requalified towards the end of December who would lose benefits for the first few weeks of January, and that's annoying. So they've fixed that by ending the elite year at the end of January. So that's one small thing, and that applies now. If you've got 2025 status, it'll expire on January 31st of 2026 instead of on December 31st of 2025. The other interesting thing I think coming is that family tiles are coming on February 1st, 2026. This is kind of neat. So if you've got kids that are under 12 years old, the tiles that they would earn can count towards the parent's elite status. And that's interesting if you travel with a family often, if you travel a lot. I mean, it's definitely a bummer that this wasn't around during JetBlue's 25 for 25, because if you're a parent, you've been
mhm.
paying for your kids' travel, you know that the tiles they're earning are in their account and not in yours. Doesn't help you towards earning elite status. Whereas this will make it possible for your kids' travel to help you earn elite status. The spend that you're doing on their travel will count towards elite status for you. So I think that's a big enhancement that nobody else is offering. To my knowledge,
Yeah.
there are some other programs that allow mileage pooling, but nobody, I don't think, that allows like status earn pooling, right?
Right. Yeah. Not that I can think of, but I think this is brilliant. And I do hope other programs copy this. I was going to say airlines, but why not hotels too? Well, I guess because kids aren't usually booking
Checking in,
hotels on
right?
their own.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know why they cut it off at 12.
Yeah, I
What,
don't
what,
either. I don't either. That's that's an interesting question because some of these programs don't allow you to sign up a kid under 13 online. I don't know what the magic of 13 is. There must be
hmm,
some legal
yeah.
something or other there. But also most programs that offer a discount for kids offer it up to age 12. So again, there must be some reason for that. I don't know what it is, but at any rate, you'll be able to earn tiles for your young kids while they're young. So that's kind of cool. There's also going to be some increased earnings for Mosaic 3 and 4. It's not a huge difference, just a little bit more. Mosaic 4s are going to get lounge access, which is something we've known for a while, but still no lounges open yet. So not all that special yet. There are changes coming to perks you pick, and it sounds like bad news because they didn't tell us anything about it other than the fact that it's going to change. And so any perks that you pick in 2026 will expire on January 31st of 2027. And they didn't tell us any more than that. So that's kind of odd, I think, that they didn't explain that more because perks you pick include things like early boarding or like a waived pet fee. So if you picked those in December, you'd only get them for like a month based on my read of the press release, which seems weird to me. So I don't know what's going on there. I would
Hmm.
say if you earn perks you pick and you have the ability to wait to pick them, maybe it's worth waiting to see what changes happen there. And then finally, there are a couple of negative changes coming. So Mosaic 1 members currently get 2 free check bags. You're only going to get one starting on February 1st of 2025. I assume that's still going to extend to everybody on your reservation. So probably not a problem for a lot of people, but if you travel solo and you tend to check 2 bags, that's certainly a bummer. You only get one moving forward. The other big change is with even more seating. So, as things stand right now, if you have Mosaic status, if you have Mosaic 2, 3, or 4, then at the time of booking, you can pick even more seating for you and up to 8 travel companions on the same reservation. If you have Mosaic 1, you can't pick the even more space seats until check in, but again, you can pick them for you and up to 8 companions on the same reservation. Starting on February 1st of 2025, though, that's going to change where Mosaic 2, 3, and 4 members are, no, rather, I take that back. Mosaic 3 and 4 members will be able to extend that benefit, the even more seating, to up to 4 companions on the same reservation. But Mosaic 1 and 2 are only going to get that for up to 2 companions on the same reservation. So if you travel with a family and you're Mosaic 1 or 2, depending on how many people there are in your family, that could
Mhm.
certainly be a bummer. And note that and the checked baggage changes apply both to new and existing bookings. So even if you already booked months ago, still these changes are going to apply to your bookings.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, if you book with all four of you, you can't just move like three of you to preferred seating because they're not going to let you divide people up like that unless you book them separately. So can't leave your kids in the back of the plane while you move up front.
You can't leave your kids. I wonder, maybe you could leave an adult. I'm not sure if you,
I
I
think
don't
you'd have to
know.
book. I'm betting you'd have to book separately to do that.
Yeah, maybe,
I'll bet you
maybe.
anything.
I mean, you pick everybody's seat individually is the only reason why I think that maybe that's not true because you pick everybody's seat anyway. I mean, you could leave someone wherever you want when you
We'll
check
see.
in, I
I'm
guess,
pretty
but
sure. I'm
we'll
pretty
see how it
confident.
happens. It might be. It might be. I mean, I didn't have to pick even more seats for all 4 people on my reservation when I checked in before, so I'm not sure why I would have to in the future, but we'll see whether it's free or not. I guess that's really the question. So you might be right. You've had more experience with that. All right, let's talk about Bilt Rewards updates. Bilt is out with a whole bunch of updates.
Yeah. So starting in 2026, we're going to be able to, well, Bilt is going to be partnering with a mortgage lender, UWM, which is apparently one of the biggest, if not the biggest mortgage lender. So there will be details coming. We don't have them all yet, but there will be a way to earn Bilt rewards when paying your mortgage. Um, Before I go on to other things, let me just mention this was a little bit disappointing because we sort of we had the impression that they were going to open this up to all mortgage lenders, just like they had opened it to all landlords when you're paying rent. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So anyway, at least it is coming, and at least it is to a huge lender. But that's not all happening with Bilt. There's just bunch of little things going on. So Bilt has introduced home delivery, where they've partnered with GoPuff, so you can earn Bilt points, when getting stuff delivered from GoPuff. And apparently it's well integrated that apparently they'll show up with a Bilt like branded bagging or packaging or something. So that's kind of fun, I guess. You could also redeem your points for that, but I think that's going to be really bad value, so I don't recommend that. They also have started to roll out Bilt neighborhood parking with a company called Metropolis. And so Bilt members will earn 1 point per dollar at Metropolis parking locations, and they'll be able to search for and eventually reserve parking right within the Bilt app. And so that should be pretty cool. The vision here is that the parking garage will automatically recognize your vehicle and charge you through the Bilt app, like all very seamlessly. So you should be able to just like drive right in and leave without having to deal with, the whole payment thing. So it's kind of a fun vision. I don't know how long it'll take to get that
You know, so
widespread.
I was in Orlando recently and they had a bunch of garages. I don't know if it was Metropolis or what the company was, but when you drove in, you just scanned a QR code on the wall and entered your plate number. And then it would automatically recognize when you enter and leave and charge you accordingly. So you didn't have to do that multiple times. You could just do that once, and then the garage cameras picked up your plate when you came in and out. And so it's automatic. And with a rental car, you could mark that you were in a rental car, and then it wouldn't continue to charge you for somebody else parking in the future, essentially. So I
Mm.
think maybe this will work
Mhm.
cool. If it works like that, I
Mhm.
think maybe this could be cool. My one concern about this, and I brought this up, I haven't heard back from Bilt yet about this, but I wondered if this is automatic, like I just described, like it was with,
Mhm.
again, probably a totally
Sure.
different company in Orlando. My one worry is what happens when I stay at a Hyatt hotel in New York City that gives me free parking on an awards day as a globalist member, but actually parks in a contracted garage, because that does happen in some places. Like if you go to the Andes Fifth Ave, they actually park your car in an Icon garage that's like blocks away. And they don't technically have to give you free parking when that's the case, but there are a number of places in New York that do. And as a globalist on an awards day. So I
Right.
wonder
Right.
though, when the valet drives my car into that lot, if it recognizes it, oh, it charges my Bilt account. Am I going to get hit with a fee for parking when I shouldn't be getting hit with a fee? Hopefully not. Hopefully that's all thought of and worked out. We'll see.
Yeah. To be determined. All
Yeah.
right. The next piece of news about Bilt Rewards is that they are doing away with their Milestone Rewards. And if you don't remember Bilt's Milestone Rewards, you can be forgiven because they were snoozeworthy at best. So they were things like here's your reward. You get to earn an extra point per dollar at grocery stores on up to 12 points or something. I mean, it was very low maximums for those kind of things. So they're doing away with all that and replacing it with ways to earn something called Bilt Cash instead. And Bilt Cash will be so instead of getting a milestone reward, you'll get a certain amount of Bilt Cash. And what Bilt Cash will be is it'll be like uh, money that you can use to spend for merchants that are part of Bilt's ecosystem. So, Bilt has this whole like neighborhood rewards thing where you get rewards at a lot of neighborhood restaurants, gyms. You have like Walmart, I mean, not Walgreens and things like that. And so for some or all of these, that's a little unclear to me. You'll be able to use your Bilt Cash to pay for stuff at regular cash rates for those things.
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, 25,000 points to earn $50, that's a lot of points. Probably not going to drive a decision to earn Bilt points, but it's a nice little added extra if you're already earning those points. I mean, if you're paying for your rent every month, might as well take the extra $50 you'll earn now and then with those points. And nice that you'll be able to use it at a variety of different merchants. I think that's the interesting thing here. I mean, I think what Bilt is doing behind the scenes, personally, I think is fascinating. It's really interesting because they're integrating all of these various different merchants that were separate things and now putting it all under the Bilt umbrella, where you could go to a Bilt dining restaurant and use your Bilt Cash to pay the bill there, or you could order
Hmm.
from GoPuff and use your Bilt Cash to pay for that, and it all seems seamless under the covers, so to speak, or like when you're in the app anyway, it's all going to seem pretty seamless, and that to me is really interesting. But $50 for every 25,000 points is not really interesting. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
So that's all they've revealed so far about how you're going to earn Bilt Cash, but I assume that there's going to be more opportunities to earn Bilt Cash than just that. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
They also made it very clear to us that this is very much like a first release, that they're seeing it as like something that's going to evolve over time, and so who knows where this will go long term.
Yeah, yeah, I could imagine this coming in lots of different forms in different places. I could see it being something that gets added, landlords perhaps adding it as incentives or various businesses or built themselves. So
Yeah.
there's plenty of ways they can use that. So hopefully that'll be interesting. All right, so that is the Bilt news, all the Bilt news that's fit to print. Finally, we're still under awards points and more here. Chase is offering a 25% transfer bonus to Southwest through November 6th. So this is a really short-term transfer bonus. You got to hop on it if you want it. What do you think? Is it worth transferring your Chase points to Southwest for a 25% bonus?
I find this interesting. I don't think we've ever seen a transfer bonus to Southwest before, as far as I can remember.
I don't think so.
But Chase waited until Southwest thoroughly devalued their points before doing that. But as we've seen so Southwest has moved to a model where points aren't worth a fixed amount anymore towards your flights. What now the value depends on really how popular the flight is. So for less popular flights, you're going to see better value, and in some cases, it's better than we used to get with Southwest points. So, if you're looking to book one of those flights where the points are really valuable, then the ability to transfer from Chase and get even more than one to one, it definitely could be well worth it. But is it exciting? I'd say no. It's more of a transactional. Like if you're in that situation, then go for it. If you're just thinking, gee, I could use more Southwest points, stop thinking that.
Probably. Although I will say, if you don't have any Southwest points now, it can be useful to have some to book backup flights. So, like, if you just need to have
True.
some on hand so that you can book a backup flight when you need one, I think it's worth having some Southwest points on hand. So, getting 25% bonus here is
Hmm.
better than not for that purpose. And the other thing that you said was funny was that Chase waited until Southwest went dynamic to offer this, but of course I think anyway, the transfer bonuses are probably dictated on the airline end. So this is probably more, even though Chase offers it, I would assume that it's the airline that actually
Yeah.
funds the bonus, so to speak, and not the bank. The airline just wants to sell more miles to the bank and offers a better deal, is my assumption in terms of how transfer bonuses work. And so it doesn't surprise me very much, even though it's surprising because we haven't seen it before. We've obviously seen Southwest move towards a model where they're just trying to maximize revenue as much as possible. And so I don't find it hard to believe that this Elliott management company is salivating at the thought of selling more miles to the bank. So
Yeah. Really good point. That's definitely what they're doing. Yep.
yeah, yeah. All right, let's get into this week's main event.
Main event time. End of year elite planning with Hyatt. It's getting to that time to check how many nights you've earned, if you care at all about World of Hyatt elite status, which if you don't, that's totally acceptable and probably reasonable and smart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you can
But
just fast forward to the question of the week if you want.
you can do that, or you can keep listening to see why the heck we care,
Right.
because we do. So, Nick, why do we care?
I mean, Hyatt Elite benefits are the best you're generally going to get from a hotel program. Now, does that mean every Hyatt is wonderful and every Hyatt has the same terrific benefits? Not necessarily, but overall, globalist status is the best executed. So, I mean, you get potentially the ability to upgrade to a suite. There's guest of honor awards that you can give to other people, suite upgrade awards you can use to confirm a suite at the time of booking. You can gift rewards. I mean, it's a pretty terrific set of benefits.
It really is. We don't see this level of super valuable benefits and the ability to gift to others, which is a surprisingly powerful ability. We don't see that in any other program. And we didn't even mention that the points are super valuable too. And so that all sort of goes together because on the way to earning elite status, you're almost always earning points, and when you're earning points, you hope that they're valuable, and they are. So it all works together really well. And once you get used to the those elite perks, it's hard to think about giving them up. So we
It
keep going
is.
with them. Now, if you want to have an argument with us about like, hey, you would do so much better just forgetting about that and make sure to, book if you really care about a suite, just look for the, most economical suite you can purchase up front and don't worry about whether it's a Hyatt or not. And if you care that much about breakfast, then maybe you should be going out to breakfast to a highly rated restaurant or to a local place to get local
Yeah.
treats or whatever. Those are all good arguments. We could argue why we ourselves,
Yeah.
make that decision, but we can't make that decision for you. And so if you've landed on that side of be your own elite kind of thing, then great. I mean, I think that makes a ton of sense. But I know I am, and I think Nick is stuck on this elite treadmill. At
Yeah,
least when
well, I mean, because I think we enjoy the benefits, right? And we'll talk about the globalist
absolutely.
benefits more in a minute here, but they become valuable to me. And like Greg said, that doesn't mean they need to be valuable to you, but they are definitely things that I think we have come to value. So let's talk about the different elite status levels and what you get at each of those. And we'll talk about all the other parts and pieces too. But let's start with elite status levels, because the one thing about Hyatt is that most of the benefit exists at the top level, whereas most other chains have sort of a great mid-tier level. Hyatt doesn't. The best tier is definitely the top tier, and there's not really another tier that compares well. But that's not to say that there are zero benefits. So let's talk about them. Discover a status, which you can get just by having the World of Hyatt credit card, or by spending 10 nights at Hyatt hotels, or earning 10 elite nights, I should say. You get 2 p.m. late checkout. And that's not guaranteed at resorts, but 2 p.m. late checkout can certainly be worthwhile. If I didn't have globalist status, I would be pretty happy to have a guaranteed 2 p.m. checkout at most Hyatt hotels. This is a benefit that's in the program terms. And so if you get pushback from a hotel, you should push back with them too, as long as it's not a resort. I generally don't have any difficulty getting this honored. And there's plenty of times where that extra time to come back to the hotel before heading to the airport is really valuable. So that's nice.
Yeah, and compared to Hilton or IHG, where their sort of late checkout is maybe, I mean, they don't
Right.
guarantee anything, and and in my experience, I often don't get a late checkout for being like even top tier elite with Hilton, for example. So.
Yeah.
Having a guaranteed 2 p.m. late checkout is great. All right, Explorist, 30 nights.
Yeah, so 30 elite nights will get you the 2 p.m. late checkout plus room upgrades, but they exclude suites and club lounge access, so slightly better upgrades theoretically than Discover a status. And anecdotally, I've heard readers say that the upgrades, unsurprisingly, tend to be better overseas outside of the United States than within the United States. And I say unsurprisingly because that's the case with a lot of American chains. You'll generally get better elite treatment anywhere other than the United States, probably because within the US you're competing with so many other people that have status. So anyway, maybe a room upgrade, which might look like a view, like an ocean view or something like that, if you're lucky. And also, the other key benefit of Explorer status, I think, is you can redeem your points for the various American Airlines redemptions, like status for a day. So you could have American Airlines Gold status for a day for 5,000 points, or Platinum for 8,000 points. Why would you do that, Greg?
Well, this would be great if you have plans to fly American Airlines and you don't have status with AA, and you want to, for example, check bags for free, or pick preferred seats or things like that, or have a chance even for a free upgrade to first class. These kind of things can give you all of that. I will warn you before you redeem for this, check the detailed terms. I once had booked a American Airlines flight for my niece and her family, and I figured, oh, for 5K they'll get free check bags and these other things I just mentioned. What I didn't realize is there's a significant lead time required to apply this status for a day benefit.
Oh,
So, for example, I was able to redeem for it, and they sent it to her, but she wasn't able to apply it because it was too soon before her flight.
oh,
You need to have like 10
bummer.
days, or I can't remember how many days before the flight you have to do it. And so that was a wasted 5K, and she didn't fly American in the next 12 months or whatever while it
Oh,
was
bummer.
still,
I
yeah.
hope she still redeemed it to be gold for a day, even if while at home, or
I don't
platinum
think
or whatever.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Platinum for a day.
But
No, yeah,
it can be a really useful thing, I think. 5K points to get a whole family free check bags and things like that
right.
is could be really valuable.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
good.
yeah, but so that's Explorer status. The real win with Hyatt as far as elite status goes is when you reach 60 nights. That's when you hit globalist status. That's where you get a 30% point bonus on your paid stays, but more importantly, you get waived resort fees on all stays. And I say that because all Hyatt members get waived resort fees on point stays, but here you're getting it on paid stays as well. Your room upgrades can include suites. You get 4 p.m. late checkout guaranteed at all except for suites. You
All except
get
for
club
resorts, you mean?
except for resorts. Did
Resorts,
I
yeah.
say except for suites?
You did, and you do still get 4 p.m. late checkout on the suite.
You do. You do. Um, You also get club access or free breakfast if they don't have a club. You get free parking on awards days. That can be super valuable. And you can also redeem points for American Airlines Platinum Pro for a day status. That costs 12,000 points if you want to give yourself or a loved one Platinum Pro, American Airlines Platinum Pro status. So, all right. So those are the elite levels. So, basically, if what you care about it is reaching a certain elite level, you probably just care about Globalist is 60 nights, and we'll talk more about that. But interestingly, Hyatt also has Milestone Rewards, and some of them get pretty good well before 60 nights.
Yeah, so the 20 night milestone rewards are not particularly interesting, but 30 night becomes interesting. So at 30, you earn, of course, Explorer status, which we already talked about, but you also earn a category 1 to 4 free night certificate and a benefit that you can pick. And the selections are 2,000 points on your next stay at like a Hyatt Place or Hyatt House or Hyatt Cove or Hyatt Studios. You get two club access awards, so you can book a standard room and apply the club access award and get club access for the room, or you could pick a $25 fine credit or two American Airlines preferred seat coupons. So if you're a Hyatt fan there, you're probably going to pick either the 2,000 points or maybe the club access awards would be my bet. For most people, those would be the ones that are probably going to be most valuable, but that's not a bad combo. I mean, the category 1 to 4 certificate alone can be worth a fair amount of money in the right situation.
Yeah, yeah. So that's nice, but it's not exciting. It's not something that would motivate us to be like, we got to get there, right? It's more like if you're at like 27 nights for the year
Yes.
and
Yes.
you're saying, "Ooh, is it worth doing three more nights in order to get that 1 through 4 cert and this other little thing?" Maybe. That's where it gets
Maybe.
like the maybe.
Yep.
But where things get really interesting is at 40 nights, right?
Yeah, because at 40 nights, you get, first of all, one guest of honor award. And a guest of honor award, which I mentioned briefly earlier, is when you apply a guest of honor award to a stay, then the person staying gets globalist benefits for that stay. So they get all those great benefits that we just talked about being excited about, like free parking and breakfast and the 4 p.m. late checkout. So that can be, again, really valuable in the right circumstances, the right situation. I use these often when we travel to New York City because we drive, because we live a drivable distance, and parking at most of the Hyatt properties in New York is often like somewhere around $100 a night, maybe a little bit less than that, but close to $100 a night. And so applying a guest of honor award to a stay can save us a significant chunk of change just in those parking fees. And I could probably park somewhere else for cheaper, but it's nice to just pull up to the hotel and give the keys to the valet. So, so that can be really nice. You can apply that to your own stay. So if you only hit 40 nights, and you're only gonna, I mean, maybe if you're only gonna stay one time at a fancy Hyatt sometime next year, that can be a terrific benefit because you get all the benefits of somebody who stayed 60 nights on that one stay. So that's great. And then you get another one you can pick. Most of us would probably pick the Suite Upgrade Award because, as I said earlier, a Hyatt Suite Upgrade Award can be applied to a stay of up to 7 nights. That can be a paid stay or an award stay. So it doesn't matter whether you pay cash or you pay with points. You can apply a Suite Upgrade Award to apply to or rather to upgrade to a standard suite. And every property defines a standard suite differently. So that's going to be better in some places than others. There are some properties that'll say their junior suite that just has a little extra space as a suite. So you do have to be a little selective with where you're going to use that. But in some cases, you can get some really nice standard suites with one of those suite upgrade awards. And that, to me, those are the things that I care most about when I'm going for an important stay, right? Is it getting like all those globalist type benefits and getting a suite and being able to have those types of things. Now, you can't apply both of those on the same stay, but being able to have one of each of those, I think is great.
Yeah. So, if you imagine this, like you're at 35 nights now and wondering, is it worth going for 5 more nights to get to that 40 night threshold? I'd be looking at, are you likely to have at least one, if not two, really big Hyatt stays next year or even before next year? Once you've hit 40 nights, then it might be worth mattress running or doing something to get to those 40 nights. We'll talk about what those somethings are later, a bit later in this main event. It's probably worth doing something to get there because it could be that you have two long stays, one where you're getting all those globalist benefits that Nick was describing, another one where you're paying the price for a standard room, but staying in a really nice suite for the whole stay. And so, yeah, the that can be that is totally where I think where things get to the point of where we are now. We're getting near the end of the year. We're looking at our account balances and saying, this is where we're at. Should we go and try to get to the next level? This is the part where if you're in the 30s, you might want to be thinking about stretching to get to that next level of 40 nights.
Yep, because those benefits can be worth a stretch. Then beyond that, at 50 nights, you get the ability to pick two more suite upgrades. There's some other options as well, but if suite upgrades matter to you, that's probably the key benefit at 50. Then at 60 nights, like we said, you unlock globalist benefits. So that alone is highly valuable, but it also comes with a bunch of other highly valuable stuff. You get a category 1 to 7 free night certificate. So that won't get you quite any Hyatt, but it'll get you a lot of really nice Hyatts at category 6 and 7. You get 2 suite upgrade awards and 2 guest of honor awards and a My Hyatt concierge. It's not like a pick one of the above. It's you get all of those things along with the globalist benefits. So if you are close to 60, you almost certainly want to find a way to get to 60.
Yeah, yeah. And what My Hyatt Concierge is, in case you don't know, it's like somebody who you can talk to either through email or on the phone, who will take care of all your like Hyatt needs for you. So, for example, whenever I want to apply a guest of honor certificate, instead of calling Hyatt, I just forward. I make a reservation for myself, then I forward it to my concierge and say, "Hey, can you apply this for my niece and give her, the guest of honor, apply the guest of honor to this," and then she takes care of it. Also, it's in that case, it's more of a time savings than anything else. Theoretically, a really good one can go to bat for you about like upgrades and availability of award nights and things like that. But we don't see that a lot necessarily. Depends on the concierge you get.
Theoretically, yes. Yeah. But an important question here. I don't question just to question it, but have you done that recently? Have you done that like since, and that's worked fine? The
Yeah.
booking the stay in your name, and because I ask because I've had significant trouble with that, with if I book it in my name and then want to apply the gift of honor and put it in somebody else's name, that's been a problem. And what I've realized is I really need to gift the guest of honor award to that person and get the points in that person's account to book it and apply it. I've had a trouble with booking them in my name and then applying the guest of honor. But if you've had success, that means it's possible. So
I just did it for Malta. So
yeah, that's great.
yeah,
That's great.
I do
That's
it. I do it.
well, great to know.
Yeah. So I guess having a good concierge is actually helpful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, as you get past 60 nights, every 10 nights, 70, 80, and 90, you get one more guest of honor certificate, plus your choice of a number of things, 10,000 points, a suite upgrade award, or a couple other things. I don't know, like 60 is such a big get. Like you're getting so much that it's kind of sloping off after that. Like, every 10 after that is like you get extra nice to haves, but they're not huge. And I think it's harder to justify like going from 60 to 70 than going from 50 to 60.
Right. And we got all excited about the Guest of Honor Award at 40 nights. So you may say, well, why aren't you as excited at 70 nights? Well, because at that point, you have access to all of the globalist benefits for yourself. So you don't need a Guest of Honor for yourself. So this is only applicable really if you need the Guest of Honor to give to other people. And, so if you travel and you don't need multiple rooms a lot, then the Guest of Honor could be very useful for you. But if not, then getting additional Guest of Honor awards might not matter that much, and the choice benefits are just not that big at 70, 80, and 90 comparatively.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's not go into all the details past that, other than to say that there's a concept of an ultimate free night, which is good at category 1 through 8, all the all-inclusives, A through F, or whatever the letters are, whatever the letters go up to, and also the Miraval properties. So you can get you can use your free night certificate at any of those, but you need 150 nights to get just one of these things, which
That's a big
is
ask.
absurd.
6 months of
Just
living in
absurd.
a Hyatt hotel to get that. Yeah, that's yeah. Like you said, absurd. So it's a lot of spend on a credit card or a lot of nights spent in a hotel or both to get to that. So kind of crazy. But speaking of spend on the credit card, let's talk about the shortcuts. So how can I get to 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 nights if I'm close to one of those and I want to get there? Or how can I mix my paid stays? What are my shortcuts?
Yeah, yeah. So we're not going to go into every possible thing, but the big ones are credit card spend. So if you get the World of Hyatt credit card, well, first of all, you get 5 elite nights every year automatically just for having the card. So if you're 5 nights away and you don't have the card yet, sign up for the card and you're done. You also get 2 nights per $5,000 spend. So again, when we're saying nights, we're not talking about like nights that you could redeem for free nights at Hyatt properties. We're talking about elite nights towards these milestone rewards or towards elite status thresholds. Towards the 60 nights you need for globalists, for example. So that's what the consumer World of Hyatt card gives you. The business card doesn't give you any nights automatically, but it gives you 5 nights, 5 elite nights for every $10,000 you spend. So, if you have no trouble spending a lot, either one of those can be a really good way to earn elite nights. If you have a business, and you get this automatically with the Hyatt business card, Hyatt Leverage is a program where if your employees use your Hyatt Leverage business code to book Hyatt nights, and that they'll get a discount, you will earn, as the business owner, 2 elite nights for every $5,000 of eligible room rates spent, up to a maximum of 60 per year that way. Obviously, I think mattress running. So what mattress running is where you book a cheap stay, just to get the nights, just get the elite nights and any points that you might earn as well. It can be a way of doing this. So you could look for like super cheap paid rates and check into those hotels in order to get those nights. You could look for super cheap award rates and book. Category 1 hotels off peak are only 3,500 points per night. So you can get additional nights by actually booking stays fairly cheaply with points if you can find one of those category 1 off peaks.
People often ask if you actually have to go to the hotel. If you're, like, can I book one that's far away from me and just like check in on my phone and not actually have to show up?
Yeah. It sometimes works to do that, but it often doesn't work to do that. So in general, you should assume that you need to actually check in to make it happen.
Yeah, so that's number one, and or you need to be willing to sacrifice and just basically have wasted the points for this day if it doesn't work. So that's a risk you're taking if you're going to try to do that. The other thing to know is if you leave a hotel early and you don't tell them that you want to keep the room, then they may check you out early. So, if you book like a 10-night stay and you go to check in person and then you leave and don't ever use the room, there's a chance that housekeeping is going to tell them, hey, there's nobody in the room on day 2 or 3, and they might check you out early. So if you need a couple extra nights, you're like, oh, I need 3 nights, but I don't actually need 3 nights in the hotel. Your best bet is probably to talk to somebody at the hotel and say, listen, I might be back in a couple of days, or I just really need these elite nights and plans changed. I'm not going to be here the whole time. Please don't check me out. A lot of places will probably be okay with that.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from mattress running, there are promos that come and go all the time. Now, status challenges are not really what we're talking about in that a status challenge isn't usually set up to give you incrementally more nights than you already have. They're usually set up to be like, if you stay 20 nights in this period of time, then you'll get globalist status. And so that can be a really good way of getting to globalist status for a year, but it doesn't sort of fit with the theme of the rest of this. So sort of put that aside for a minute. But there are promotions. Every now and then we see promotions to get double elite nights. Sometimes it's for certain brands. Sometimes it's for everything. It really depends. Right now, there is a double elite night promo, but it's tied to getting the World of Hyatt credit card. So as we're recording this, the Hyatt's offering, in addition to the normal points bonus you get when you get the card and spend a certain amount, in addition to that, you also will get double elite nights. And here are the details. You have to be approved for the card by November 20th of this year. And then after you're approved, every night you spend until the end of January of 2026, you'll get 2 qualifying nights with a maximum of 15 bonus elite nights altogether. So this is kind of interesting because you have to, if you do this, you have to think through how you want to spend those nights, right? Can you elaborate on that, Nick?
Well, it depends on when you want them to count. And so, if you're a few nights short of this year, you want those double elite nights to post this year, then it's probably pretty obvious that you need to stay this year, number one. But number two, also importantly, if you're traveling around New Year's Eve, is that Hyatt counts all of your elite nights based on your checkout date. And this is not intuitive for everyone. We should probably republish a post about this as we approach the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you had a stay that starts on December 28th and you check out on January 2nd. So that's, I don't know, 1, 20, 29, 30, 5, 6 days, whatever that is. Those are all going to apply in the new year. You're not going to get credit for December 28th and 29th and 30th of this year unless you check out by the 31st of this year. Then those nights count for this year. But if you check out in January, they're going to count for the new year. So that's piece number one. Piece number two is obviously it depends on whether you want those nights this year or next year, because this goes through January 31st. So if it would be more useful to you to have all of those elite nights next year, for instance, if you have a 15-night stay you can book in January of 2026, then you'll have 30 elite nights in January, starting off the year with 30 essentially on that 15-night stay, and you get those 30-night milestone benefits and explorer status and a much faster path to globalist for the year. So, it just depends which year they're going to be more beneficial for you in. But again, keep in mind that Hyatt counts all of the nights based on your checkout date. Has nothing to do with the actual calendar night you've spent.
Yeah. Yep. I will mention that whether you're mattress running or getting this credit card, you can usually stack these deals with other promotions going on in order for the overall situation to be more rewarding. So let me give you an example. Right now, there's a targeted offer for earning 3x Hyatt points, so 3 times the points. I think that's 3 times the base points on stays of 2 nights or more for 90 days after you register for the promotion if you're targeted for it. So first of all, if you're targeted, wait until you need it to start the clock on those 90 days. I made the mistake. I saw it in my account and it just had the button like register. And I was like, yeah. And then I read the details and after clicking the button and I read the details like for 90 days. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have any Hyatt stays actually like, well, no, that's not true. I have a few, but not, anyway. So, Anyway, so if you're doing like, paid mattress runs, then they can be a little bit more valuable because you're earning points, not just the nights when you stack with those kind of promotions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to back up for a second to what I was talking about your checkout date on that previous one, if you got the credit card, also keep in mind you need to check out by January 31st to get the double elite nights. If you're doing it in January, don't check out on February 2nd and think that the nights
Yeah.
at the end of January are going to count. They're not, because you're going to get credited based on February 2nd. So make sure you check out by January 31st for that previous promotion. The other thing about 90 days, you just brought up 90 days. And so we should also mention the fact that the milestone benefits that you earn, when we talked about what you earn at 30 nights and 40 nights and 60 nights, et cetera, the ones that you choose, you only have 90 days from the date that you reach that milestone to pick the milestone benefit. If more than 90 days pass, you can't go back and get it. So if you earn your 40 elite nights, you get your guest of honor award automatically, but you have to select if you want the suite upgrade award. You have to select that within 90 days. If you wait, you won't get anything. So be sure to select within 90 days. Now, that out of the way, you also want to be strategic about when you select, because for the past few years, people who've selected benefits in January have had the benefit valid for 2 years, essentially. So if you were to hit 40 nights right now, you have 90 days to select if you want that suite upgrade. If you selected it today, as you listen to this in 2025, if you selected it right away, then that suite upgrade award would be valid until the end of February 2027. If you wait until January to select the suite upgrade award, at least based on past precedent, no guarantee it'll work the same way, but based on past precedent, you're going to get another year. It's going to expire probably at the end of February 2028. And so that might make a difference in some of these milestones as to when you pick them. Do you have a use for it next year, or do you want to get some extra time out of that benefit? That's going to be important and something to know. Also, the same with guest of honor awards. By the way, I've found that the ones that I've earned, like based on activity, right at the end of the year, then they don't come into my account until January, and they end up being valid for 2 years. So if you're at like 59 nights and you can finish that 60th night at the end of December instead of the beginning of December,
Hmm.
you may end up getting more time out of your guest of honor award as well.
That's really, really good advice. I forgot all about that, and I am going to be right in the mix with that kind of thing. So it's good reminder.
All right. So let's talk about what we're going to do. So, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? Well, right now, I am already at 57 nights. I have a 4-night stay coming up next month. So, I will be at 61. So, I'm going to requalify for Globalist and get all my 60-night milestones. So, that was pretty simple. That's a mix of actual stays and credit card spend that got me there. My wife has had a lot of nights this year too, because we've been traveling with other family members quite a bit. And so when we do that, I always book the additional room. If I need one additional room, it goes in my wife's name, no matter who's sleeping in the room, so that she gets the elite credit for that room. So she's now earned her own way to, but by the time we finish that coming 4-night stay where she has another room also, I think she's going to be at 32 elite nights. And so she's going to get all the 30-night benefits. But then also, I'm looking at, well, should she go for 40 nights? Because that's 8 more. And we just were talking about how great the 40-night benefits are. Or would it make more sense for me to go for 70 nights? And when you compare the 40 and 70 night milestones, the 70 night milestones are better. But most people listening are probably not going to be in the situation I just described, where you have player 1 already a globalist and player 2 also earning a lot of nights. It's a pretty rare situation. If you were in my situation, it would make more sense to go for 70, because the benefits you select at 40 and 70 are very similar. 70 has some slightly better benefits, so very slightly. It's a close comparison. So anyway, I thought about going for 70, but the short version of the story is that as I did the math, I don't think it's worth it. And I should say, we have actually a few more nights that I haven't yet booked. We're going to have about 4 more nights. So I think I'm going to end at 65, or my wife is going to end at 35 or 36.
Hmm.
If we get a little bit closer yet, one of us might mattress run. I did just give my wife a guest of honor award for a booking, so I guess actually now I'm going to end at 62. If we do 4 more, I'll be at 66. Now we're starting to get to the point where maybe I'd consider mattress running. The problem is I have a lot of Suite Upgrade awards already that don't expire until 2027 because I waited to pick them until January of last year. And so I've got a bunch that are already valid for the next year and a half ish. So the value of even more of those is somewhat slim, though, as I pointed out here, if I wait until January to pick them, I'll get another year. So I may yet put in a mattress run if I can get myself otherwise to a little bit closer. If I can get within 3 nights of 70, then I will probably mattress run because, as fate would have it, we are going to be staying at a Category 1 Hyatt that has availability at 3,500 points a night for additional nights. So I went
Wow.
ahead and
Okay.
I booked a stay for a few extra
Yeah.
nights just in
Just in
case,
case.
and then I
There
can
you go.
cancel it later if not.
Yeah. Yeah. Do both of you already have the World of Hyatt credit card?
We both have the consumer card, yes. So we are
Okay.
the
All
five
right.
elite nights from that are already in there, and we've both done the 15K spend to earn a free night certificate. And we've earned a bunch of elite nights from spend. Neither of us has the business card, but both of us are still over 524. I will be under relatively soon, but oh, I say
Mhm.
relatively soon in December. I'll be under, and so maybe I could get some spend in on that, but it's probably not worth the extra complication at this point. We'll see whether I do the mattress run.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's really good. So let me talk about my situation. I'm currently at 48 nights, and I have 3 nights planned by the end of the year. Of course, other things can come up, and I might get more, but that's where things stand right now. I earned quite a few from my 4 night stay at the Hyatt Centric Malta. Um, some people remember, I booked not just for myself. I also booked for Carrie, who was staying same time as me, same number of nights, and also for Bjarne, who the chef, who also stayed same nights and 4 nights, and then also for Maisie, who she came in later. She came in, so only one day overlapped in our stays. And I booked her for 4 nights, and I gave her that stay as sort of a baby moon. She's about to have a baby, and so I'm really excited for her. And so I booked all those nights, and I thought about what's the best way to do all this. And here's the issue: when you book multiple nights for yourself in one hotel at the same time,
Multiple rooms.
um,
Yeah.
multiple rooms, you only get credit, elite night credit for one room. For example, I booked 2 rooms for me and Carrie. They're both under my name, and I only got 4 elite nights for those 2 rooms. Okay, I could have gotten another elite night by giving Carrie a guest of honor award to for her room, because when you give someone a guest of honor and they spend it, you get an elite night as the gifter. I could have done that. I didn't because I have plans for all my guest of honor awards. I did use one though for Bjarne. So he had to check in before we get there. So I wanted it'd be more convenient for it to be in his name. So I guest of honored him, and I earned one elite night from his stay, even though his stay perfectly overlapped with mine. For Maisie's 4 nights, I kept it in my name. And I just told them at the desk, please let Maisie check in, because I wasn't going to be at the hotel at the time she arrived. And that worked perfectly. And I knew that I would get some number of elite nights credit for this. Now these were not the same nights, but there was one night overlapping. So I thought worst case I would get 3 elite nights from her booking because it was 3 nights that didn't overlap, and I thought best case I get 4 because maybe they would just look at the checkout dates alone and then base the number of nights credited that way. They did it the way it's supposed to work. I got 3 elite nights from her booking, so I got a total of 8 elite nights from the Hyatt Centric Malta, which is a category 2. It was off peak, so it was 6,500 points per night, so it wasn't bad at all. Anyway, so I'm at 51 nights. I want to get to 60. I want to re-up my globalist status. So I need 9 more nights. Um, my plan right now is to I still have $10,000 more to spend on a World of Hyatt credit card to get to the 15,000 where you get a category 1 through 4 free night. So I want to spend the 10K on that card, and that will give me 4 more nights because you get 2 nights per 5K spend. Then um, I'm going to need what, 4 more nights after that. I'll probably do that by spending $10,000 on my World of Hyatt business card. That'll give me 5 nights. So I'll end up with 61 instead of 60. So 1 night wasted that way. But anyway, that's my tentative plan. But I'm going to wait a little bit to see if other plans show up, where I'll be getting more nights naturally, then I won't have to do as much spend. Um,
Yeah, let me
people,
let me add to this. You mentioned guest of honor and that you already had plans for all of your guest of honor, so you didn't have an extra one to give to Carrie in that situation. And I find myself in the same situation with my guest of honor awards because we're frequently traveling with family. So mine are all earmarked, and I haven't had enough to meet my needs. But what I have found is that if you have other friends who are globalists or trying to requalify for globalist, at this time of year, there are often folks that have some of these guest of honor awards and would like to get the elite night credit for someone using them. So keep your ear to the
yeah,
ground for friends and family who have a guest of honor award and want to give them to someone so that they can get the elite night credit, because that worked out in my favor at least once already, where someone said, hey, I need the elite night credit this year. So if there's somebody who can use one this year, I'm happy to give it to you. And I was like, yes, me. I'll take that because I need
yeah,
that, and I can guarantee you'll get the elite credit this year for it. So worth keeping your eye out for that if you don't have status and you need more guest of honor, or you just need more guest of honors than what you get.
yeah. No, totally. That's exactly right. And about spending your way to the elite nights with the Hyatt credit cards, a lot of people have asked about this, about like, do you have to finish the spend before your credit card statement comes due in December? No, the charges have to post before the end of December, and then the if you've hit the threshold of the 5,000 spend or the 10,000 spend by the end of December, then once they tally it up, you'll be retroactive. Those elite nights will retroactively apply to this calendar year's elite status. So even though that calculation might not happen until January, so you won't see it in your account, it will be applied to this calendar year,
Yes, and I can
for
confirm
elite status purposes.
that sort of thing happens, and it will retroactively, even if you don't see it for a while afterwards. Eventually, it does get fixed, and that's how I ended up realizing that getting the elite benefits in January extended them for another year, because my status, just that stuff didn't post until sometime in
Hmm.
January. And then when it all came in, I realized, oh, well, that was kind of a neat benefit of it coming in that way, that
Yeah.
it all gave me extra time. So yeah, that's definitely a good tip. Now, one other question related to that unfortunately I imagine you don't have a silver bullet solution for is there any way to track where you are? If you've had like the World of Hyatt credit card open for years, is there any way to know where you are in your 5K spend?
Yeah. Not that I know of. So the reason Nick is asking that is with the consumer card, the 5K spend that gives you the 2 elite nights is not bound by the calendar year. So if you spent if you just got the card last year and you spent, I'll make it really simple, you spent $2,000 last year on the card, and then you spend $3,000 this year, that's when you'd get your first 2 elite nights, because that adds up to the first $5,000 of spend that would get you those 2 elite nights, and then it starts counting from there towards the next 5,000 and so on. And I don't know how to check that. So that's a really good point, because I'm kind of guessing that like I might hit my get my 2 elite nights before spending what I think I need to spend to get to my category 1 through 4 cert.
Yeah, it's really annoying. I've recently did some spend on both of our World of Hyatt credit cards, not knowing how many elite nights we're going to post because I wasn't sure
Yeah.
which level I was going to hit. Is that going to be,
Right.
the next five or the next
Yeah.
10 or whatever? Yeah. So,
Right.
one of these days I'll have to sit back and go through all the statements I can to like add up all the transactions and try and figure it out. But I haven't because that just seems so
Right.
annoying to do. So I wish there were a counter for that. I doubt they'll ever add one. So
Yeah. So for the business card, my understanding is they do it by calendar year. So the counter resets each January 1. So it's easier to figure out where you are with that card. You just look at your spend year to date. Don't include things like the credit card's annual fee or any other kind of fees like that you had to pay to the credit card company in your spend. That's a general rule, even with like things like credit card welcome offers, retention offers, any of that kind of stuff. They never count the annual fees or late fees and things like that as part of your spend.
great point. Great point. All right. So both of us are going to requalify for globalist, it sounds like, and do whatever it takes to get there. And then, we both have thought about how to bridge the gap to get there. And again, I mean, we both very highly value that. I think you are right to question whether or not it should be valuable to you, though. As we said at the beginning, you do kind of want to run the numbers and see, am I going to save enough to make this worth a stretch? If it is a stretch, ask yourself that question. And for us, the answer is a pretty easy yes, but that may or may not be a yes for you. However, I do think the 40 night benefits, being able to apply a guest of honor award to one stay and a suite upgrade award to another. I think that those are very much worth considering, even if you're only a stay twice a year at Hyatt type of a person. I think like looking at, okay, well, how far am I? Did I earn some nights this year I didn't expect? How far am I from 40 and how could I get there? That may be worth asking yourself. All right. I think that brings us to this week's question of the week. This week's question of the week came in our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group. And I thought this was a terrific question because if you book awards, if you book award tickets, specifically flights, you are almost guaranteed to run into this type of evaluation at some point. It won't be the same specifics, but it's going to be the same type of situation. And so I thought it was a great question to ask Greg. So Megan writes, how do you evaluate whether positioning is worth it? For example, British Airways just announced direct flights to London from my home airport, but business class award pricing is roughly 10,000 points and $100 more expensive per ticket than if I drove 5 hours to fly out of a different airport. I could rent a car. It cost about $100 to get to another airport and save money, but it would cost me an extra vacation day because I got to get there a day early. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer to spend the extra 20,000 points. That's two passengers and $100 each for the extra vacation day. But am I missing something? Does the calculation change if we were retired or we had unlimited vacation days? And then she goes on to say, or we could position to Boston and fly to Madrid. Apparently, eventually, that's where they want to end up. And we'd save 61,000 points per ticket and $374. So that seems like it'd probably be much better. So, Greg, I ask you, how do you decide between positioning? Like, how much of a difference is enough to mean that, well, I'll just pay more and fly nonstop? And how does that calculus change based on the situation?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can't give you a magic formula for that, but it kind of just depends on how frugal you are with both your points and cash and everything. And for me, the advantage of a nonstop or reducing stops is like really high. I really don't like the added time, the added risk of delays. Like every time you add another flight into your itinerary, it can really endanger the overall trip. And worst of all, I really don't like adding a separately booked situation like a positioning flight with another carrier because then if something goes wrong, you're not really protected all the way through. So all those things mean I'm personally willing to spend quite a bit more for a nonstop. Like in the example that Megan gave, I would just pay the extra avios and be done.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting to me because that's such a risk averse position. Like, you're avo the time thing. That's easy. I mean, yes, you save time, so there's no argument there. But the rest of your answer was essentially, well, if you book a separate positioning flight, there's a risk you might misconnect, or you book a flight with a connection, you might miss the next flight, which that just recently happened to me. So it wasn't even a connect; it was separate tickets, just like Greg was saying. However, like during the Million Mile Madness Challenge, you flew 15 airlines in like 9 days and didn't miss anything, right? And if that doesn't prove that worrying too much about like connections ruining your trip, I don't know what does. Like, I mean, it can happen. Yes, bad things happen sometimes, but I don't know. I don't worry as much about that. Of course, like I said, just bit me recently, so obviously it happens.
Yeah. So, Million Mile Madness, I did not include an American Airlines flight at all. So,
so that makes a big difference. You wouldn't have made that kind of a risk, right? I mean, that's a bit much.
I've been loving the great deals you can get using Alaska Atmos miles to fly American Airlines, but I've been hating the delays that seem to hit every time I fly American. And so, flying out of Detroit, there's not a lot of options that don't include like, got to get to Chicago, got to get to DC, got to get somewhere else for that international flight. And often American Airlines is like the best deal for doing that. But I'm
not so willing to risk that.
I do not want to use American as my positioning carrier. Let me put it that way.
Right.
So anyway, so yeah, I guess you could say it's risk aversion, but I also, even aside from all the risk parts of it, the nonstop part is, I think it just makes the trip so much simpler and faster if you can just fly nonstop. And so I really value that.
I think a lot of people value that. So you're obviously not wrong. Here's what I said to Megan in response. So she said that it would cost her an additional 20,000 points and $100 or $200, I think. $100 is what she said. So 20,000 points and $100 to fly nonstop. And I said, well, I think the math on that part is pretty easy. Figure out what you value the points at. Let's use 1.5 cents because that's an easy valuation. That's where we value a lot of our transferable points. So it's $300 worth of points then, and $100 in cash, $400. So if you value that, she brought up the fact that it would cost her an extra vacation day to position to Chicago or Boston. So if you could buy an extra vacation day for $400, would you do it? And if you would, then fly nonstop. I mean, and if you wouldn't, then consider positioning somewhere else. So I think that was the first piece to look at. Okay, well, is it worth paying this? And think of the points in terms of cash to decide that. And actually, it gets a little more complicated because the rental car would cost something, and so you can subtract that. There's
right.
More math, but that's the idea that I said. And then I said
that's a good way to do it. I like that.
But then I said the other thing that comes into play is your vacation situation, because, if you only get 2 weeks of vacation, let's say, then you might be more willing to pay for that extra day of vacation to keep it than if you have 4 or 5 or 6 weeks of vacation. So the amount of time that you have and how used up that is or not will also come into play in terms of deciding how much. And then the final thing that I told her was that if you're looking at a British Airways flight, and so you're looking at the costs here, have you checked to see if it's available via Cathay Pacific Asia miles? Because if it is, then maybe you could save that 20,000 miles by booking through Cathay Pacific instead, and also pay less in fees. And sure enough, she found that flight available some days, not the day that she was originally looking at, but she said she had some flexibility, and it was 23,000 points less. So she'd actually pay even less flying nonstop from home. So you got to consider all those options, but we're all going to face that at some point, right? Where you're like, do I position? Do I fly nonstop?
And it occurs to me as you're talking about this, that if you are retired or have so many vacation days, you don't care about it. For me, then I would be looking at, I have to fly out of, let's say it's Boston. Great. I'm gonna get to Boston a day or maybe 2 days early and make that part of the trip. Right. And then that takes away all of the risk part of it,
Yeah.
because it's not like a same day positioning flight. It takes away all of that risk, and it makes it actually a pleasure to do that stop there. But if you're on a tight schedule, obviously that wouldn't work for you. And again, it's not really for me. It's not really about saving money or points. It's about what makes the ideal experience, and I think that could be a great way of doing that.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah. Well done. Okay. That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you've enjoyed this and you'd like to get more of this stuff in your email inbox each day or each week, you want to go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe to join our email list, follow us on all the various social media, join our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group where you can get a whole bunch of answers to a question just like Megan did on that one that we answered here. And wherever you're watching or listening, don't forget to give this a like or a thumbs up. If you've got a question that you'd like to be considered for a question of the week or a piece of feedback for our giant mailbag, you can send that too.
Send it to mailbag@frequentmiler.com. Bye, everybody.